Coming up next on this QBSN preview, the number 5 Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team comes into the final stretch of the season after dropping their previous 2 games to take on number 4 Harvard and Dartmouth. Gabby Riggi and I preview the weekend coming up next.
Hello everyone, welcome to the QBSN Weekend Hockey Preview. I'm Gabby Riggi, alongside me is Rob Ciambra. The beginning of February marks the stretch run of the season and the beginning of ECAC play. For the number 5 Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team, on Friday night they take on number 4 Harvard Crimson, and on Saturday, Dartmouth's Big Green. Rob, what are your key matchups for this weekend?
Well, I'm going to say for Harvard, it's going to be the goaltenders, Chelsea Layden and Emirates Mashmeyer. Chelsea Layden has had quite the season so far, 23-2 record. She's started all but one of the games this season, and she is one of the top goaltenders in the nation right now. Emirates Mashmeyer, on the other hand, she has started 12 of Harvard's games this season, a 181 goals against average. She's given up 21 goals, but she has still been pretty stellar for the Crimson. I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup between the Pipes on Friday. For Saturday, I'm going to have to say it's the top lines for both teams. For Dartmouth, you got the top lines of Stacy, Ottenbright, and Allen, who have combined for 31 goals this season. And for the Bobcats, Costa, Darkangelo, and Ewan Johansson combined for 24 goals, 58 total points this season.
I'm going to go a little bit different on for the Harvard game for Quinnipiac. I'm going to say they have to be really careful of their top line. That's a line that's combined for 16 goals so far this season, which is outstanding. Quinnipiac defense has let in .93 goals a game. They're absolutely phenomenal in terms of getting in passing lanes, blocking shots. I know you're saying goaltending, but the defense definitely has to play well in front of Chelsea Layden in order for this team to be successful, especially against an offensive juggernaut like Harvard, who averages over 4 goals a game. So I'm going to say the top line versus the Quinnipiac defense. For Dartmouth, I'm going to have to go with the Quinnipiac special teams, penalty kill especially. During the 4-4 tie at Dartmouth, Quinnipiac let up 3 power play goals, which they cannot let happen this time. Dartmouth's power play isn't one of the best, but it's definitely something that's bitten Quinnipiac before. Quinnipiac's power play penalty kill, is number 7 in the nation. They're such a good, strong defensive team. Their special teams has to be the thing that fills in all those gaps for them. They don't take very many penalties, but when they do, they have to make sure they're really tight in the lane.
Well, you mentioned that 4-4 tie against Dartmouth in the final weekend of the first half of the season back in December. Kennedy Ottenbright for the Big Green had 2 goals in that game for the Big Green. I think she's going to be a threat on Saturday the Bobcats need to watch out for.
Yeah, I think in addition to her, they have to watch out for Lindsay Allen, who is the team's leading scorer, 11 goals. She's got a huge slap shot, which can be potent on both special teams and even strength. If she gets the lane open, their defense again has to play really strong. They're lucky now. Quinnipiac has Emma Greco back from injury. She's a player who always has her stick in the lane, always is going to block a shot. So I think their defense has to play strong against Lindsay Allen for Dartmouth.
Now, who do you think for Harvard?
I'm going to go Sydney Daniels. Again, I'm going with the goal scoring for this weekend. She has 11 goals. She's definitely the leader on that top line. It's going to be a lot of the defense first, and that's the way Quinnipiac has played. That's the way Rick Seeley wants his team to be, is defense first, and that's going to have to definitely come into play against these offensive teams. Even Dartmouth might not seem that big offensively, but they still have players with 10-plus goals. They still have the potential to bite them if they're not careful, as we saw in December.
Yeah, well, for me, the Crimson, I'm going to have to go with junior forward Mary Parker. She's got 8 goals and 12 assists this season, good for 20 points. She has been a threat for the Crimson this year, one of their offensive leaders. And in my opinion, I think she's going to be one of the key players to watch out for in that Friday night game. She's going to be really tough on the Bobcat defense, no matter who's back on the blue line, whether it's Rusler or Greco, any of those defensemen.
And what do you think for Quinnipiac now?
For Quinnipiac, I'm going to say Taylor Cianfrano as well. She is, obviously, we've talked about her a lot. She has had quite the stellar rookie season. You look at her stats, 14 goals, 10 assists, 24 points on the season so far. She's really making a case as like the rookie of the year. She's really been a pleasant surprise for Rick Seeley. Almost didn't come to Quinnipiac. Initially had a commitment to Wisconsin, and now she's in Hamden, which is, I think it's really lucky for the Bobcats that they have her.
Sorry, Rob. Last time out at home, she scored a hat trick for Quinnipiac. Rick Seeley's always praised her natural talent, her natural ability as a player. So it's definitely, her is always someone to watch out for. She had a little bit of what felt like a rut in the middle of about November, December, but she's come back with the force in 2015. Who's your other player?
Well, I got to go with Cheyenne Darkangelo. She's sitting on 99 career points. She hasn't scored a point in the last 2 games. It took Kelly Babcock a little while, a couple seasons ago, when she was sitting on 99, but she got over it after a couple games. I think it's going to be the same deal for D'Angelo. She's a good goal scorer that the Bobcats got as a transfer from Syracuse when Erica Johansson went over to the Olympics last season. It's her senior season. I think she's going to be a threat for the Bobcats this weekend.
Now, you mentioned Erica Johansson. She's someone who I picked to watch out for. As we just see these natural talents on this team. The Bobcats are so deep that Taylor Cianfrano plays on their second line. So to have Erica Johansson as someone leading them on that top line, she's always someone to watch out for. And you're talking about milestones. She's on 91 career points, so you always have to watch out for those things for these players. To have so many, there you have 3 or 4 players, I believe, on this team who are getting close to the century mark. So for a team like Quinnipiac to have this deep of a team definitely shows on the offense. My other player to watch out for has got to be on defense. As you know, defense for me is what comes first. Sid Rusler. She's been that rock on defense for what was a younger defense the past couple years. She was there when Emma Greco went down with that injury and came back. She and Taryn Baumgart have done well. She and Emma Greco played well. She's just a smart defenseman, and she knows how to play the game. And you see that game in and game out. Doesn't make very many mistakes. Always there to support the defense and the goaltending. She's just absolutely phenomenal. She's the one that anytime Chelsea Layden gets those shutouts, she always credits the defense, and it's definitely Sid Rusler is one of those people you got to watch out for.
I don't disagree with you on the defense, but I feel like the offense could be more of a presence, especially in this Harvard game. That's why I did pick Cianfrano. She's got 7 game-winning goals this season. Yes, she sort of fell into a rut middle of the season, but I think the teams, after her stellar starts this season, I think sort of the teams started looking at tapes, figuring out how to defend against her. And Rick Seeley, he knew he had other lines that could score, and that's really what this Quinnipiac squad is. They have 4 lines of goal scorers. There's not really that 4th line that's like, maybe they don't have as many goals as that 1st and 2nd line, but at the same time, I still think they score enough goals where the scoring, it's coming from all around. That's the first that we've seen from this women's hockey team in a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Along with that, you see this, as you said, this is a team of depth, and having that depth of scoring is definitely something that's helped them on both sides. If you don't let in any goals, you still have to score them. And as you said, they have such a depth of scoring. We saw Emma Woods, who was on the 1st line, on the 3rd line. Just being able to have this team to have multiple 10-goal scorers is definitely something that's going to help propel them. And I think you are right, especially since it was a 4-4 tie against Dartmouth, coming off games where they only scored 2 goals on the Hockey East, trip to BU and BC. Maybe if they get the offense kick-started, that might spur them on both ends of the ice.
Now looking at the Dartmouth game on Saturday, it was a 4-4 tie that went to overtime back in December, and this is a team that everyone expected the Bobcats to just put away early on, don't look back. But that was sort of a surprise, I guess, the end result. Do you think it's going to be the same this weekend?
I don't think so. I think after that game, Rick Seeley definitely lit a fire under that team. As good as your confidence is, sometimes a loss like that might be what you need to kind of give you that reality check. They went so long undefeated. They still only have 3 losses on the season. But just to have something like that tie as a reality check, he said prior to going to travel to Robert Morris, that was the team that they lost and tied last season, he said that those losses and those ties are what cost them their chance at the NCAA tournament. And that was something he wanted to change with this team this year. So I think seeing a tie against a team like Dartmouth on your record is something he does not want to see again. So I think they might end up splitting this weekend with I think it might be a tie and a win. But I think that they've learned a lot from that game against Dartmouth, and that they're going to use that as, this might be a little bit of a revenge game for them, and it might be a chance to kind of get that reality check that they might have needed earlier in the season, but it's something that they definitely have gone and moved on from since then.
Yeah, I think you're right that they moved on, but they don't totally forget it to the point where they're still going to remember what happened back then. But I'm going to disagree on the split weekend. I think because the Bobcats are on home ice, this is 2 of their final 4 home games of the season, I think they go for a sweep. I think it's going to be a close game against Harvard. I'm going to say 2 or 3-1 maybe, give or take an empty net goal in the end. But I think Bobcats, after that game against Dartmouth back in December, they're going to know to play 100%. Remember what happened. I think it's going to be a more there's going to be more scoring in that game, more like 3-0, 4-1, something to that extent.
All right, that's all we have today, everyone. Be sure to check out our broadcast. Rob Ciambra and I will have the call on Friday night against Harvard. Check out theqbsn.com and @QBSN on Twitter for more. Take care, everyone.